it's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Chad Erickson. Appreciate that introduction. A lot to do over the next 60 minutes. We got a fun show today. Legendary boxing analyst, Hall of Fame boxing analyst, Al Bernstein joins the show. Why is Mike Tyson still this mythical, larger-than-life figure? I want to get his thoughts on that and the crazy boxing match going on in Dallas next month between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. We'll get into that for a few minutes as well. Kurt Helin, our good friend from Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, drops by to talk about everything except what we should be talking about, which is this crazy $2.5 billion a year offer that is reportedly on the table from NBC to the NBA. Kurt, obviously, working for NBC Sports, isn't going to be able to talk about it, but we should be because it's kind of crazy. But we start things out in the NBA and obviously some playoff conversation with our friend Sam Yarnell, who swings by the show as he does each and every day on this program. It is great. $2.5 NBA right now. Turner Sports is paying $1.2 billion, and NBC is offering $2.5 billion for the NBA broadcast rights. Basically, they want the TNT package, and they want to move that over to NBC. It's just, whole thing's nuts. Anyway, we had games last night. We have teams going home, and that includes the Los Angeles Lakers, who are beaten yet again at the buzzer by the Denver Nuggets, which is just amazing. Jamal Murray in this series twice victimizing the Lakers and knocking them out of the postseason this time around. There's got to be two ways to look at this, though, if you're the Lakers. When you're talking about what you're going to do with LeBron, what you're going to do with this roster, this head coach, whatever it may be, LeBron becoming a free agent. You lost 2 games in this series on the final shot. So while you lose the series 4-1, do you look at it as a complete loss, we lost in 5, or do you look at it as we literally were 1 shot away in 2 games? I mean, this thing could be 3-2 going back to LA later this week. Are the Lakers that far off from the Nuggets? I think it's a fair question.
Yeah, but then you look at the record that the Lakers have in the last, 13 games against the Nuggets. They're 1-12.
Yeah.
It's just hard to get behind that argument to me. And I think every time we think that the Lakers get a little bit closer, like there were points in this series when we definitely thought they may have, Michael Malone just has this innate ability to change a very small thing, and it throws whatever the Lakers had into complete disarray. You saw it with the Jokic matchup. You saw it with the Hachimura matchup. Throughout this series and throughout the regular season, both of those things are two that really evolved when these two teams met up. Very interesting to me, Jason, how Michael Malone has been able to kind of consistently be a step ahead of LeBron, AD, whoever the coach at that point of the Lakers was. Obviously, Darvin Ham in the most recent iteration. I think it is very interesting that the Lakers are seemingly this one pesky team that continues to bother the Denver Nuggets. But at the end of the day, we've seen time and time again, the Nuggets are always able to remain a step ahead. It's like Tom and Jerry, and they're always just one step ahead of what the Lakers are going to do.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm truly conflicted on this. I am of 2 different mindsets. There's a part of me that says this Laker run with LeBron is over, and then it's time to start building this franchise around Anthony Davis. Now, I think if you do that, you retain Darvin Ham, you keep Anthony Davis, you keep, other pieces of this puzzle in place, and you just sort of move on from LeBron. Now, the published reports out there, are suggesting the Lakers are going to make LeBron a 3-year offer and do everything they can to get Bronny to come and play for the team, go draft Bronny and have him come play with LeBron. I think that's a mistake. If you're about winning, If you're about winning championships, I think that's the wrong move. If you're trying to be Dallas Cowboys light and just be relevant and in the headlines, then fine, go ahead and do that. You're the Los Angeles Lakers, you want to go and do that, fine. But if you're Jeannie Buss and you're Rob Pelinka and it's about winning championships, to me, that doesn't feel like the right move.
It's an interesting dynamic. I want to talk really quickly about what you just mentioned with the Bronny thing, because I think that is so paramount in all of this. And I think that the Lakers, in what you're mentioning, Jason, I think in catering to that idea and allegedly offering or planning to offer LeBron this contract and go out and get Bronny, they know what they're doing by doing that. And that is not trying to necessarily firsthand get LeBron to come back. It's a backhanded way of getting LeBron to come back by the Lakers organization almost single-handedly raising Bronny's draft stock. You look at LeBron James Jr., and he is a late second-round talent, most likely an undrafted free agent talent, who would fight for a last roster spot on an NBA team, or probably more likely be a decent two-way player who spends the majority of the season in the G League. That's where he's at talent-wise. That's fine.
Right now.
Sure,
Correct.
Sure. Compared to the rest of the draft class if he were to enter today. I think that the fact that LeBron has made very clear over the course of the last decade, really, you could say 7 years, but it's really the last decade, that he wanted to play with Bronny, no matter where that was. He wanted to be the Griffey Jr. of NBA basketball, because we've never seen it before, and it would be an amazing thing. Now the Lakers are single-handedly going out and essentially raising Bronny's draft stock by themselves. You don't think that makes LeBron a little bit happy? It's just so obvious to me that their entire motive in all of doing this is just to raise Bronny's draft stock, pander to LeBron, and try to get him back. The organization is in disarray to me. I like LeBron to OKC.
It's not happening. Let's just forget LeBron to OKC. My God. I like LeBron to the Knicks. I think that's got a better chance of happening. I'll take LeBron to the Knicks.
I could see it. Jason. I could see it.
I could see it a hell of a lot more
Wizards?
than anywhere. Yes, exactly. The Wizards, yes. Nothing can save the Wizards. It's too late. It's too late for them, son. Stick around. We're coming back. We got plenty more to talk about. Kurt Helin will join us. We'll get into some basketball. Sam will return later on as well for something to consider in odds and ends. Don't go anywhere.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022, and the threats go way beyond just credit card fraud. Today's identity thieves can use your information in ways that are easy to miss by just monitoring accounts and credit, like opening loans, transferring home titles, even committing crimes.
Someone got my social security number, made a driver's license, and it was used for criminal activity.
You can do so much with a social security number that I didn't know could happen. They drained my bank account. It was terrifying.
You're even more vulnerable than you realize. Your information is exposed through online shopping, banking, even corporate data breaches. No wonder there's a new victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. Only LifeLock alerts you to the widest volume of threats all in one place, like someone trying to use your social security number, open a new loan in your name, or even commit a crime in your name.
There was a big yes button and there was a big no button. I clicked, "That's not me," and LifeLock took it from there.
If you become a victim of identity theft, a dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will be assigned to your case and work to fix the issue on your behalf.
If something happens, you have somebody fighting for you.
All LifeLock members are backed by the LifeLock $1 Million Protection Package, including reimbursement for stolen funds, personal expenses, and coverage for lawyers and experts up to $1 million. It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity. With LifeLock, it's easy to help protect yourself.
I will be with LifeLock forever.
Join the millions of people already protected by LifeLock. And for a limited time, save 25% on your first year with promo code 25TV. All plans include a 60-day money-back guarantee.
Call 800-710-7531.
Or visit lifelock.com/25TV to save 25% on your first year of identity theft protection. Enroll now.
Attention families with a loved one in a nursing home. If your loved one has suffered from bed sores, falls, broken bones, dehydration, or even death, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. If you have a loved one who is injured in a nursing home, we will find out what happened. State violations are found against nursing homes every day. You have a limited time to file your claim, so don't wait. Call 800-398-5999 and speak with one of our attorneys. The call is confidential and free.
Continuing on this Tuesday edition of the show and continuing with the NBA conversation with Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, who joins us on the program. Well, Kurt, I was talking about this in the last segment with Sam, and I'll get your thoughts on it. There's two ways to look at it. If you're the Lakers, you're literally one Jamal Murray shot away twice in this series from being up 3-2 going back to LA for game 6. On the other hand, you've now lost 12 out of the last 13 out of the last 14 against the Nuggets. I don't know how as an organization you look at it. Or is it just dictated by, hey, this is what LeBron wants, this is what LeBron thought, this is what we think of this season?
It's much more the latter. It is ultimately about keeping LeBron this summer. And I think what they believe is that they are close, that this team can compete. It won the in-season tournament. Like you said, went to the Western Conference Finals before getting swept out by Denver last year. They don't think they're that far away. And with some tweaks and better coaching, they think they can get there. Keeping LeBron is priority one. That likely means Darvin Ham is gone. Sources told me they're going to think about it for a day or two, but don't bet on it. Like, he's done. Darvin Ham's out. They'll draft Bronny not at 17, but we'll go get Bronny if that'll keep you happy and keep you here. But I think what they're going to do is fire Ham and go get somebody and then go big game hunting. For all the things you just said about them, and I said, they pushed Denver. They've been good. They made the conference finals last year. They came out of the play-in 2 years in a row. They have got to be better during the regular season. LeBron at 40 can't sustain what he did in that game 5. He was brilliant in game 5. He's driven this team through this. He can't do that for 82. And they've got to go get somebody who can take some of that load off, whether it's Trae Young or DeJounte Murray or somebody else who they can get and who becomes available. They are going to go big game hunting this summer. And that and a max deal should keep LeBron around.
You know what's always amazed me, and I'm just thinking about this while you were talking. I zoned out for a second while you were giving your answer, and I don't usually admit this. But I was thinking about, when you mentioned DeJounte Murray.
So does my wife, so it's good.
I was thinking about it. For as great as he's been, outside of Miami, if you think about his entire career, for as great a facilitator of finding open men and creating opportunities for other people as he has been, outside of Miami, he's never been surrounded by great shooters.
No.
Isn't that remarkable? That teams who go and get LeBron, knowing what his expertise is, knowing what his specialty is, drive, dish, open three, that he's had to dish it to guys that can't shoot.
And when they won the title, what did they have around him? Defenders who could knock down a KCP, who's got another, defenders who can knock down enough shots that you've got to respect them. And I think that that's the model that the Lakers, frankly, got away from with the Russell Westbrook trade. And as much as Rob Pelinka made smart moves to reel that back in, I don't know that it got all the way reeled back in. And that mistake set them back. And so now they're going to go get another star. Hopefully, that's where the Trae Young thing confuses me. I know he's a clutch client. I know he's an offense unto himself. He is a great offensive player. He's a target on the other end. To
Trae Young. My God, no.
And by the way, really, so a guy who doesn't work great off the ball. So you're going to take the ball out of LeBron's hands. How much? In crunch time. I don't love that fit, but that is the name most mentioned.
Oh God, I cringe if LeBron's got to play the last couple of years with him. Hey, on the Bronny thing, what's to stop another team from taking Bronny? Even if
nothing in the second round.
That's what I'm saying. And if you're a team that's trying to lure LeBron, I mean,
yeah,
am I crazy?
Again, I don't think that this is. I don't know that LeBron is their primary target unless he opens up to them about this. But Philadelphia is the team where you're like, hey, they've got these pieces. They're one guy away. They're going to go.
Why not the Knicks?
Hunting this summer. Obviously, Paul George is the name that gets mentioned. If they went after LeBron and said, oh, by the way, we got second round picks, we'll grab Bronny for you and put him on the roster. It helps. That helps with the pitch. LeBron's got to decide he wants to leave. And whoever takes him can only give the good bad news is you can only give him 3 years because of the over 38 rule. But he's going to get 3 years at even another team can give him, I believe it's 158 million over 3.
Why not the Knicks?
I don't think they have the cap space. They'd have to trade for him, and the Lakers just wouldn't help.
Yeah, not going to move not going to take Julius Randle off your hands. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's not that if the Lakers move on from LeBron, if he tells them, well, I guess if he told them I'm leaving one way or another, and so they were forced to trade him, they do it. That puts them in the interesting, do we retool this thing around Anthony Davis? Do we strip it down? Like, they'd have really hard decisions to make.
Give me a sense, with the Thunder sending the Pelicans home. I think a lot of us wondered what we were going to see out of this Thunder team in the first round. Now, obviously, no Zion Williamson played a big role in it, but you got to be impressed with what you saw out of Oklahoma City, having that killer instinct, so to speak, to sort of do what they had to do to dispatch of New Orleans pretty quickly.
It was professional, wasn't it? And not and in a way that you don't expect from a team this young, right? Where Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as their star is the old guy at 25, right? Like this was a kind of, statement is a strong word because, like you said, without Zion, they were clearly the better team, but they also didn't have letdowns. They played every night. They did what they had to do. Like, they figured out what they needed to do over the course of the series and improved to the point where they were laughers. This was everything you could look for in a series. It's a much tougher test next round when they get either the Mavericks or Clippers are a much tougher test. But that was as good as you could ask for the first round. And it's just a reminder, this team is here to stay for a long time, Jason.
Yeah.
You and I are going to be talking about them for years.
I hope so, because that will mean you and I are still talking. By the way, I just want to say what a pro wants, what a pro needs. Okay. No?
Yeah, they should be kicked out of the playoffs just for
You're not a fan of that commercial? Is that what you're saying? It's stuck
the
in your
first
head.
6,000 times. It was fine.
Okay. Kurt Helin's hanging out with us. We're going to bring him back for one more segment. Try to bring some professionalism to this outfit. Stick around. We got plenty more to do. I got to talk to him about the Knicks and the Sixers, with the Knicks trying to close that baby out. We'll see if they do. With the Knicks up 3-1 on the Sixers. Also, that Mavericks-Clippers series, which has been a barn burner. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. The one and only Sports Wrap continues on this Tuesday. Al Bernstein coming up in a few minutes. Looking forward to that conversation. Talk about Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, and why people are still so captivated. This draw, this magnetic sort of field when it comes to Mike Tyson is kind of amazing to me. We'll get into that. Hanging out with Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Did you watch Tyson when you were a kid? You and I are of the same age.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, he's the actor from The Hangover, right? Like, that's the guy we're talking. No, he was, like you said, very few sports stars captivate you the way he did because of his style, because of that aggressive, when he was just coming at you and knocking you down and seemed like the baddest man on the planet. You watched. You had to.
Not to take into an area where I can't have you talk about this whole thing with this report from the Wall Street Journal, NBC Sports supposedly putting out a $2.5 billion bid on the NBA. As a larger conversation, because a couple weeks ago it was reported Amazon was getting in there, and this is going to be the silly season for this now, because everybody's going to, there's going to be reports everywhere about who's jumping in and who isn't. What does it say overall about the health of this league and the product? It's not the NFL. Fine, nothing is, which is a whole nother conversation about our unhealthy obsession with the NFL that this country has. About the state of the NBA, that there are players out there. Maybe it's because they're desperate to get play-by-play or get eyeballs. I don't know what it is. But that the NBA is viewed as this valuable a commodity still.
I think they've done a good job. They've marketed well, and they've had an era of stars with Curry, who is eminently not just fun to watch, but like you can relate to. Then you have like the icon that is LeBron James and his following and stuff. So I think they've had stars and they're transitioning. Anthony Edwards has broken out. He's the next guy, right? Like,
man,
I mean, Wemby's probably the best player in the league in 5 years, 3 years, 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, but Anthony Edwards may be the star. He has got that personality, and he, by the way, will be a top. I'm watching him last night going, I had him second team All NBA. Should I have had him first? Like, they've got this growth. They've got these stars. And what the NBA also really has, I mean, outside of all the things driving television money right now anyway, in terms of streaming and bringing in eyeballs and demographics and live, getting people there because they've got to see it live. The other thing that's really going to drive the NBA over the next decade is international growth. They are the best basketball league in the world with the best basketball players in the world. And if you're the same way I watch my beloved Newcastle United and Premier League and some European soccer because the level's better than the MLS, even though I watch that as well when I can. If you're growing up, if you're a basketball fan or a sports fan in France, you're watching the NBA. I've done radio hits regularly in New Zealand. Like, people just watch that international growth. Like, that's where the real money is over the next 10, 12 years.
I hate to say this. When you mention Anthony Edwards and you're like, the star and this, and all I can think of is, star. Oh, God help me for saying this because people in Minneapolis are going to hate me, but in Minneapolis.
That team's really good.
But he's in Minneapolis.
Well, you don't go there in February, Jason. It's much better in the spring. But
right.
Hey, that's a market. I'm happy for those fans, by the way.
I am
who are
too.
Long suffering as anybody in the league, man.
And long suffering as anybody in sports, if you really think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the Twins.
The last time they won a series was Kevin Garnett 20 years ago this year. Like, right. It's crazy.
Sixers and Knicks. I like Joel Embiid, and this guy trying to overcome everything he has physically. He makes it so hard to like him sometimes, though. He really does. And I'm not saying that as a Knicks fan. I'm saying it as a guy who talks about sports for a living. He makes it so hard to like him. He really does.
He's polarizing. I think that's part of his trolling, that edge to his personality.
Yeah, and he'll be home watching the rest of the postseason in another day.
Yeah, probably. But I'll say this. Look, that's a team that's another conversation for another day about how they're totally going to have to retool this summer and have set themselves up to do it unlike, say, the Lakers. They are poised to make this move. They've got cap space, but everything still banks on a 100% healthy, or as close as you're going to get, Joel Embiid. To win this series, they needed him to be the MVP, best player on the floor, dominant guy in the series. And Jalen Brunson's been the best player on the floor in this series. Jalen Brunson's been brilliant. And Embiid has tried. I don't think it's for a lack of effort. I just think he's dragging one leg around. He's not dominating in the paint the same way because of it.
He's got an eye. He's got an eye that won't close. I mean, it's crazy.
It's a mess.
It really is. What he's able to overcome is remarkable. What he's able to overcome is remarkable. All right, I got time for a couple of quick hitters here. Magic and Cavaliers is the forgotten series in this postseason. And I really feel bad about it because I haven't even talked about it that much. It's 2-2. Magic were down 2-0. They get a couple of wins back in Orlando. Best of 3 now. Who do you like?
I'm going to stick with my Cavaliers pick, but Donovan Mitchell has to start being, You want to be the star in New York? You want to be the star wherever? You better start acting like the star in Cleveland. He has to be the best player in this series for them to win. Orlando's defense has been so good the last 2 games. It's gotten their offense going with transition. They're young and athletic, and they've got their model. They need Donovan Mitchell has to be the guy, or Darius Garland. Somebody has to step up and break this thing.
I got about 45 seconds. Clippers and Mavericks has been everything we thought it would be.
Yeah.
Even without Kawhi. James Harden turning back the clock. Again, you got Paul George hitting crazy shots from 3 over in the corner. The Mavericks, everything tells you the Mavericks should win the series. Will they?
Yeah, probably. I'm still taking them in 6, but it's close. It's going to be really close. Kyrie had a great quote. He said, when Kawhi is out, it frees up Paul George and James Harden to take shots they might not normally take, but they're such good, tough shot hitters. They went in, they can make those rough shots, and suddenly it's a series.
It's crazy watching those 2 teams go toe-to-toe. And Luka said, I got to be better at helping Kyrie. Yes. And I think that was kind of a stand-up move on his part, sort of going out there and making that known. Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Check him out there. Always appreciate it, my friend. Hopefully we'll talk next week.
I look forward to it. Take care.
Kurt Helin hanging out with us on the show. Sports Wrap continues. Al Bernstein is next.
Attention families with a loved one in a nursing home. If your loved one has suffered from bed sores, falls, broken bones, dehydration, or even death, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. If you have a loved one who is injured in a nursing home, we will find out what happened. State violations are found against nursing homes every day. You have a limited time to file your claim, so don't wait. Call 800-398-5999 and speak with one of our attorneys. The call is confidential and free.
Sports Wrap continues. Good to have you with us on this Tuesday edition of the show. If you listened yesterday, maybe we didn't talk about that much yesterday. The rules were announced for Mike Tyson's fight with Jake Paul coming up at Cowboy Stadium in June on Netflix. It's actually going to be a boxing match. Who would have thought? But it got me thinking, and I wanted to get Al Bernstein on. It's a great card to begin with, by the way. There's so many other fights besides Tyson and Jake Paul. I wanted to bring in Al Bernstein, who's a longtime boxing analyst, Hall of Fame boxing analyst, and somebody I trust implicitly when it comes to boxing, who joins us here on the show today. There's a couple things I want to ask you. And the first, I guess I'll lead with this. I was sitting there yesterday trying to think about it as I watched people talk about this fight coming up between a 57-year-old Mike Tyson and a Jake Paul that's like 30 years younger than him. And I'm trying to figure out, of all the figures in boxing, all the mythical figures that we've seen throughout the years in boxing, why Mike Tyson still remains this cultural phenomenon that spans generations the way he does.
Yeah, for Tyson, you're talking about, yeah. Yeah, he kind of occupies a unique space in boxing fans and even casual boxing fans, overall sports fans that are tangentially interested in boxing. He occupies a unique space in their mindset. Many of them don't really even know all of his history in terms of how he fought, when he fought, who he did what to. Like going into this fight, he's 57, and the last time he fought, I did several of his ending fights. He lost like 4 of his last 5 fights, to fighters that were okay, but not great. So it was not to denigrate Mike Tyson in his prime. He was a terrific fighter and a ferocious figure. And that ferocity is what is implanted in people's minds. And because of that, and because we live in times now where marketing something is equally important to its value. We've been in those times for some time. And the other irony that I'll mention even at the beginning, though we may get into it later, is here we have this kind of stunt boxing match on a worldwide, Netflix, a platform that hasn't really had boxing, and that makes it significant. We have this stunt boxing match with a fight underneath it that is a true important boxing match, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, in the midst of boxing having had a phenomenal year last year with just dozens and dozens of great fights and meaningful fights. And in the run now of about a 4-month period that may exceed what happened last year. So that there's irony that this match that's capturing all this attention, and some are rightfully skeptical of it, it comes in the midst of boxing doing such an amazing job for its fans.
I mean, they're talking about 30 million people watching this. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
potentially.
it's insane to me. And, I almost wonder if Tyson is sort of that figure that transcends different lines in sports or different sports fans, almost in a way Tiger Woods does. Completely different reasons, don't get me wrong. But in terms of bringing in and drawing in people that wouldn't typically watch the sport, is that fair?
Maybe. I never thought Tyson was, when he was in his, his prime and when they were doing it, I never felt like he grew the sport that much, ironically. This is the strange part. I felt almost he's among the boxing fans, they wanted to see him, but I never felt like he was one of those figures that grew the sport. But because of the myth and because of the mythology around him and the larger than life circumstances, whether it's being jailed, it's, all the other things that have happened, even having Spike Lee do a stage show for him, which he delivered fairly well. And even that was part of the folklore around him. But all this stuff, here he is going to get, because it's not a pay-per-view, it's on Netflix, he's going to get this massive audience because people are curious, right? We live in a time where if you can market something as a unique kind of event, you can get people to be interested in it. And you have this social media magnate in Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. And so when you put the two together, they create something, and they were extraordinarily clever in putting the Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano match under it. Of course, Amanda Serrano is promoted by Jake Paul, but they were able to make that with Matchroom to get Katie Taylor. So they added a very legitimate boxing match that millions of people do want to see, and that added to the event.
I got about 25 seconds left in this particular segment. Do you think, would it shock you if Tyson won this fight?
Yes.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, because he's 57 years old. He didn't fight well the last time he was fought. And Jake Paul, while he's a beginning cruiserweight, Jake Paul is like a guy that would beat other 5-2 or 7-3 or 6-1 cruiserweights. But that might be enough against the 57-year-old.
Okay. Al Bernstein's hanging out with us. I'm going to hold him for one more segment because I want to ask him about this Taylor and Serrano fight that's going to take place on this card as well. And talk some boxing with our good friend Al Bernstein, who does a terrific job, gives us some time today on Sports Wrap. Don't go anywhere. We got a lot more to do.
Do you use Viagra or Cialis? Have you been thinking about trying Viagra or Cialis? What if we can promise you the same results for less than $3 a pill? If you're paying $20 or more a pill for Viagra, you're getting taken to the cleaners. Our pill delivers the exact same results for less than $3. We'll do the math for you. You'll save more than $16 a pill for the same results. Want more? We'll give you 40 blue pills or 40 yellow pills for $99 and add 4 more pills free. You save more than $500. Stop overpaying for expensive prescriptions. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what to do next. You need to call now and get your 44 pills for just $99. Stop overpaying for Viagra. Call us anytime, day or night, and start saving big money for the exact same results. Have your credit card ready. Ordering is fast and easy, with your pills delivered to your door in a non-marked package. Call now.
Sports Wrap continues. Great to have you with us on this Tuesday edition of the program, hanging out with Al Bernstein, longtime boxing analyst, most recently with Showtime. So what's it like not having like a next fight to do, at least as far as I know, you know?
I'm going to have a next fight.
All right,
to do
what is it?
Shortly, we're going to have, very shortly, in fact, later on this week, there'll be some announcements coming out. Sorry, I'm with you just before the announcements. I wish I could tell you today, but I can't. But our timing is just a little off. But yeah, I will be getting back in the saddle coming up in May and moving on the rest of the year.
Oh, but, great. That's exciting.
It has been an interesting time where I've had, some time, about 4 months or so, to kind of do other things. I've been writing this column for Ring Magazine, and I've been doing some other. I'm fairly eclectic, as you know. I do a lot of music, performing, and other things. So I've been kind of doing a lot of those things, and it's actually been kind of fun to have the time, because we had a pretty busy schedule toward the end with Showtime, before Showtime Boxing went away. But I am a broadcaster at heart, and I will be getting back in the fray within the next month.
What's the most interesting thing that was kind of thrown your way after people found out you weren't going to be with Showtime? Was there one particular thing that like somebody offered you, or you were just like, what?
That's an interesting question. We've had some intriguing little, and I kind of was more open to things because you never know what the future is going to bring. So I thought, well, there's some interesting, if there's something fun or interesting, I would do it. I was actually offered, ironically, it was in the music area. There was somebody that wanted me to go to Australia to do a week-long, because there's a lot of boxing fans there, and they have a very strong, like, cabaret kind of vibe in many places. And this person was trying to set up about a 2-week-long thing where I would go in Melbourne and a couple other places, which I'm not ruling out still. But I thought that was intriguing, something I always wanted to do, and somehow we never made it happen. So that one was kind of intriguing.
Deontay Wilder is back in the news, the former heavyweight champion. Him and Jared Anderson are going to fight. It sounds like August in Los Angeles. What do you make of that fight off the top of your head?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, isn't he fighting Zhang?
He's fighting. First he fights Zhang in Riyadh in early June, but they're already planning his fight.
He's got to beat
that.
Zhang first. So yeah, I mean, if he beats Zhang, and then of course Anderson and him would be a fascinating matchup, because if that happens, because Anderson is presumably one of the fighters who could be the future of the heavyweight division, and Wilder in the twilight of his career, having had that upset loss to Parker, he's hoping to beat Zhang, who himself lost to Parker, and get himself back into a dominant position. The problem with Deontay Wilder's situation is there's the feeling that he's got his 1 foot outside of the sport right now after the Parker loss. And he keeps talking about how this, is rightfully toward the end of his career. So that will give people doubt going into the Zhang fight and against Anderson as to how fully committed he is to it.
We were talking about Taylor and Serrano in the last segment, and these two fought. They sold out Madison Square Garden, which I don't know if a lot of people realize that. I mean that this, in this age of women's sports that we're talking about right now, and rightly so with Caitlin Clark and the WNBA, these two sold out Madison Square Garden. I mean, that's pretty wild to think about.
Well, women's boxing in the last 3 years has been a comet.
Could you ever have envisioned it? Knowing coming from where you have and having seen the evolution of this sport, Could you ever have imagined that?
I thought, I can't say I predicted it.
Christy Martin. I remember thinking about Christy Martin.
But I covered women's boxing, and I always said women's boxing didn't have a lot of depth because there weren't enough top-notch women. But once the amateur programs in America and all around the world started really producing a lot of women, and it became more accepted for women to get into the gyms and be boxing and in the most, in what you could look at as the most machismo sport ever, somehow, whatever ideas people had, they were able to put them aside, and women became a very much a part of the sport. You could feel a momentum building. Now, where it would get to, you didn't know, but I felt women's and the other thing, women's mixed martial arts started to do very well. It was great in Bellator, and then for a long time, UFC didn't have them, and then they did. That helped fuel the women's boxing movement as well. And then along with that, many, many talented women who were Olympians and amateur fighters really started to get into the sport, and they became marketable. And I'm going to give one group a lot of credit for women's boxing, and that's Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing from England. And they, of course, promote all that. You have to say objectively, even though others have contributed greatly, they were the ones that kind of helped push it and I think make it more global, and the Serrano-Taylor fight was an example of that.
Well, listen, I'm looking forward to hearing this announcement of what you're going to be doing next. So I'm going to be keeping an eye on your social medias. Always appreciate it, Al Bernstein. You are a treasure.
I would be happy to announce it here, but they would kill me.
Thank you, Al. Be well.
Take care, Jason.
We're coming back. Thanks to Al Bernstein for stopping by the program. Legendary boxing announcer. He's an FOP, friend of the program. Lives in Vegas, by the way. So when I told him I might very well be moving to Vegas, he got quite excited. Could we have cameras at like a lunch with me and Al Bernstein? I think that would be very funny. I think that would make for very entertaining television. Just lunch with Jason Page and Al Bernstein. Al Bernstein's got so many stories to tell from his life in boxing. So anyway, good to talk with him. All right, something to consider, Sam Yarnell. The Travis Kelce, well, we'll just call it a tight ends edition. How's that? Travis Kelce gets a 2-year extension. I think it's like $34 million, something like that, from the Kansas City Chiefs. Makes sense. I mean, if you're talking about this team three-peating, I don't think there was ever any doubt he was going to come back this year. It makes sense from a Chiefs perspective. And we were talking about with Matt Verderam on the show yesterday. Chiefs had a nice draft. I like Xavier Worthy. Jason. I like Worthy. I know he's undersized, but anytime you could say you got the fastest guy in the draft,
it doesn't mean a whole lot. That's the thing. You go back and you look at the names of the fastest guys who run the 40 time. John Ross III. Do you remember him, Jason?
This is the fastest ever. Xavier Worthy is the fastest ever.
Right. So at the time, John Ross III also ran the fastest 40 time at the combine ever. Marquise Goodwin did the same thing. These wide receivers are great, and they stay in the NFL for like 4 years, kind of, sort of. As like the wide receiver 5, which is fine, but it's not what Kansas City needed. And as much as you want to make all the comparisons to Tyreek Hill, the fact of the matter is Tyreek Hill is about twice as agile as Xavier Worthy and has hands maybe 10 times as good as Xavier Worthy. There is no one who can compare to Tyreek Hill, who, in my opinion, should go down. And this comes from a Bills fan who has played against him in the Chiefs and now the Dolphins. I think Tyreek Hill is probably a top 5 wide receiver in the last 20 years. And I don't think that I'll get a lot of pushback in saying that. all of that said, Xavier Worthy has a chance to be really good. I think that his game is a little too one-dimensional for that Chiefs offense. We see how dynamic they continue to be. But as long as you've got Travis Kelce, no matter how much money you're paying him, Jason, you're going to be a good football team.
$17 million of that, by the way, is fully guaranteed. So fell 16 yards short last year of a 8th straight 1,000-yard season. And keep in mind, too, he did miss some time throughout that season as well. And frankly, it didn't really matter, and you could say this when it comes to perennial championship contenders. It didn't really matter what he did during the regular season because, like a lot of great teams, that Chiefs team flipped the switch when they got to the playoffs and was a much better, more disciplined. All the drops that you had seemed to disappear in the playoffs. Everybody talking about the drops, the Kansas City receivers. Oh my God, all these drop passes. We weren't talking about that all that much with that team during the playoffs.
Well, so it's good for Travis Kelce. And I'm very happy for Taylor Swift's boyfriend. He got a lot of money. The fact of the matter is we need to stop acting like and he's very good. He is probably the best tight end in the game right now. Maybe. He's very good at football. There's no doubting that. I will stand by that.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Despite what I'm about to say. Travis Kelce is not the best tight end of all time. He is not even the best tight end that has played for the Chiefs of all time.
Who cares?
I don't know why.
Who cares? Who cares?
No, I agree. I just think that there's
you're just taking shots, though. I mean, who cares?
There's a huge narrative going on right now about he deserved to be paid the most money a tight end's ever been paid because he's the greatest of all time. It seems like people have completely forgotten that Tony Gonzalez, Rob Gronkowski ever existed. Two guys off the top of my head better than Travis Kelce throughout their careers. Travis Kelce's great, and he has been fortunate to win as many rings as he has, and he's definitely pulled his weight in winning those rings. But the fact of the matter is he's not going to be the best tight end of all time.
I don't think he's going to be the best tight end of all time. I don't know about I'd want to look at the numbers between him and Gronk. We don't have the time to do it now.
Well, I'll tell you the numbers between him and Gonzalez right now because they're not close.
Gonzalez. I'm not talking about Gonzalez, but Gronk I might disagree with. Just thinking observationally and what I remember of both of their careers. I might disagree with Gronk being better than Travis Kelce. We'll have to do a deeper dive into it, though.
So you agree with me on the Tony Gonzalez thing, though, right?
Yeah, I'd probably agree on the Tony Gonzalez thing. Tony Gonzalez was special.
That's the one to me that that's the one to me that is just so asinine that people are like completely forgetting about this guy who was great for so long in the NFL. Like he started playing before I was born, and I remember watching him as a teenager.
Yeah.
You got to give Tony Gonzalez some more respect, but I'm very happy for Taylor Swift's boyfriend.
And that is going to wrap it up for this edition of Sports Wrap. What a busy show. Thank you to our guest, Al Bernstein, of course, the Hall of Fame boxing analyst who is going to be calling matches or doing something somewhere else, as he told us on the show. So you're going to want to find out about that. Thank you, of course, to Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, and, of course, Sam Yarnell. If you haven't done so, make sure to check out our podcast, Vodcast, if you have not subscribed yet. It's simple to do. Go to any podcasting platform and go and look for Sports Wrap with Jason Page. Give us a like while you're at it as well. I am Jason Page. Thanks for tuning in to Sports Wrap. We'll see you back here on Wednesday.